my friend. And the fog keeps rolling through the hills like it's hiding something big. Engines humming under steel skies, ticker tape like battle cries, borderlines in laser light, everybody gearing up tonight. Headlines dripping gasoline, polished speeches on the screen, smiling faces sharp and tone, nobody really going home. Feel that pressure in your chest, history ain't finished yet. Welcome to the red line era, temperature getting severer. Push it till the gauge explodes, nobody easing off the road. We living in the red line era, brakes cut by the overseer, foot down heavy to the floor. One more step and it's world war. Blazing conference rooms, polished shoes and mushroom fumes, cyber shadows in the grid, every move pre-programmed script. Defense budget climbing high, peace talks barely getting by. All this tension, all this pride, whole wide planet switching sides. You can feel the engine shake, hear the chassis start to break. Rising from the cracks, turn the dial, late night diffuse, nobody here can choose. Veins pump black machine oil, cables coiled tight like snakes in soil. Every switch twitch like it's feeling pain. Every warning light pulls like a hungry brain. War in the cockpit veins, Rigo Pharaoh snap his chain. If the ship start thinking in your name, you're already losing the claim. Slither like a rib cage, hook glitch red with a primal rage. It steer itself toward a dying star, trying to burn me off like a parasite scar.
You know, welcome to Satan and Coffee. Usually we run it for 10 minutes, but I'm running it for 5 this morning. You know, I hate the fact that I love this music so much because it is AI, but I absolutely, like, I'm totally fucking vibing with it. So good. It's got that like wonderful fucking like just southern rock kind of vibe going on with it. Like I think it's great. I love it. I love it. Good afternoon, everyone. AI is a partner of humanity. It is now. It is, isn't it? I dig it. It's good stuff. So, you know, Promptgenics is, you know, the name of whatever the hell you want to call this, you know. Not sure about the humans behind it, but it is good stuff. You know. Just love the fucking vibe. So good afternoon. I am so sorry like that it's been, you know, a late kick-in today for Satan and Coffee, but we're here, we're back. You know, we're doing the thing. You know, Hootless. I actually need to cut my own hair. I need to cut my hair. I cut my own shit. Like I just got some clippers and just go for it on the sides and shit. But rock on, rock on. I played some basketball this morning, which was fun. I haven't played basketball since high school. You know, I put in a hoop for my son on the front of the house, and I took the ball and started shooting, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun. You got in trouble for doing a horrible job. I mean, isn't that just like a buzz cut though? Like, isn't that just like just shave your shit and keep it short, like all around? Your attempts, I decided to stop. Rock on, rock on. Yeah, no, I don't do a great job, right? Yeah, the inevitable back of the head, right? Yeah, no, I use my finger to guide with the clippers. So like if I feel something, you know, yeah, you're watching on the big screen. Rock on, rock on. So wife is watching Satan and Coffee on the 55 in the living room. So cool. So fine, it showed up. Formation looking like a maniac and did it twice. Damn, man. Damn. So we're gonna go further down the demonic self rabbit hole today. I got some interesting comments to the shorts. Like I always find the comments that I get on TikTok and shit, like the shorts, like to be so interesting because these people don't check like the long form content. Like they don't come over to YouTube and watch like the long form shit. They only watch like the short form and think that they know everything I'm talking about, and they don't bother with the context. And so I got some interesting comments on the last one that I did. That was kind of fun. So just a couple announcements really quick, just to kind of throw them out there. Bones and Hope, Black Magic Dairas, Oracle deck. She's making Oracle deck for charity purposes. So she's actually got a thing going on her Instagram right now. I'm not sure she posted anywhere else, but where a £5 donation equals, what'd you say, love? Is a 3-card reading? Is it? Something. £5, she'll do like an inbox reading for you. Some cards and stuff. So if you got £5 to spare, go to the GoFundMe. 3 questions. Okay. So go to the GoFundMe, drop £5. Then let her know that you dropped £5. And then, and like what name you use for the £5. And you get 3 questions. So that's the thing. She's doing that all day, right? So if you got £5 to drop it over there. Infernal Compass, the self-help book, like the shit you can do yourself. I'm still trying to figure out and get the cover done correctly. I might try to fix it after the show today. But basically, Amazon won't let me publish the damn thing because I'm using the guidelines that they gave me for the cover, and then they're telling me that the cover's proportions are incorrect. And I'm just like, bruh, like, you gave me the proportions. How are they wrong? Right? So yeah, that's a fun part of it. And it's a big read, 345 pages, 40,000 words. You know, this is a second book, essentially. This is a second book. So Infernal Compass is a coaching program that I developed. So there's group coaching and then there's one-on-one coaching. And a lot of people are really like enjoying the process. But the coaching isn't cheap. So I've thought of what's the best way to allow somebody to go through the Infernal Compass, you know, and kind of improve themselves, work on themselves, right? That's accessible. And that's creating a self-help guide, right? So it's massive undertaking. Just finished it probably like a week ago. Just working on getting the cover art, you know, accepted through Amazon and then getting it published. So that's going to be dropping pretty soon by the end of the month. So there's that. And I guess we'll do our daily read, our energy read for the day, to see where we're sitting at with today's energy. Yeah. So you got Mystics yesterday and you get mine today. So rock on. And then we're going to get into the worshipless God. I mean, yes, that was specifically designed to be, you know, offensive to some people, interesting to others, I guess. It's kind of the vibe, right? Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure it's got a good shuffle. Ooh. 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 All right, so let's see what we're rocking here. Yeah? Let's see what we're rocking. So, our first card is the Ascending Flame, right? So, essentially, rise above the chaos, right? Right? But rise above it with grace and resilience, right? You know, the trials and the tribulations that we go through, it ignites strength. Let the strength shine through, yeah? Let it shine through. Right? The Ascending, that's the first card, right? That is amazing right there, right? And then our next card, love this. God, that looks good, right? So yeah, the Requiem of Roses, right? So I think this ties in really well with the Ascending Flame, right? We're talking about hardship, right? Here we're talking about kind of like reverence and remembrance and honoring the past, right? So we're talking about kind of like encouraging ourselves to cherish what's been lost and then finding the strength in its legacy, right? Right? Treasure the lesson, so to speak, right? And let the memory shape you. Wonderful card. That's an amazing looking card. God, I've never pulled that one before. That's fucking amazing. I love how that looks. Focus on the card, camera. Thank you. So, yeah, that's a good one. I dig it. Like 100%. And then the last one kind of pulls in with that as well, like that same kind of like design language, the timeless bloom. We've gotten this one before, but again, we're talking about, you know, we are once again talking about legacy, right? You know, but looking at the beauty beyond the decay, beyond the end of what we have, right? That there's beauty in something ending and other things beginning, right? You know, this is reflecting kind of like the power of creating something that lasts from the ashes of what was, right? You know, so just the inevitable change, right? And coexisting, like in the balance of like life and death. So if we look at everything kind of all together, we're talking about rising above kind of like the difficulty and finding, you know, strength in, you know, the things that happen to us. Here we're talking about legacy and things in the past kind of dying away. This is almost like I would say like a death card, right? It's almost like death. In the sense that it's a new beginning, right? Like the past has to die in order for, right, new to come in. And when the new comes in, we're talking about building a lasting legacy of it, right? Now, as we usually do, we're going to cover those with the shadow deck. And this will give us like some like real world kind of integration shadow work processes that we can add into this. Whoa, that one wanted to come out. What's that one? Ooh, interesting. Uh-huh. Interesting combination here. So what's covering the ascending flame? The know-it-all. Overcompensation, defensiveness, and ego shield. Right? So this one, I'm kind of looking at like, this is kind of like what we're dealing with. This is what we're kind of overcoming, right? We're overcoming a past where maybe we weren't allowed to have kind of like that opinion. We weren't allowed to have an idea. We weren't allowed to speak our minds, right? You know, we're dealing with, you know, and then there's level of overcompensation on our end, right? And us becoming defensive, you know, because we weren't allowed, you know, to have, you know, that voice, and we want that voice, you know, so it's kind of like overcoming that aspect of ourselves, you know, that we project. What's covering Requiem of Roses? Be gentle with yourself, self-compassion, permission, and softness. Something I tell clients all the time. Be compassionate with yourself, right? If you can't be compassionate with yourself, how can you ever expect anyone else to show you compassion? You need to be giving yourself compassion first, you know? Like, don't look for external permission. Give yourself permission, right? You know, that's one of the most important things to kind of throw in there, right? Is you don't need permission. It's what we're going to be talking about today. And then the last one, which I think directly ties into like kind of like self-compassion, the lonely child, isolation, inner void, emotional hunger, right? The inner child. Show some compassion to your inner child. Like, talk to your inner child today, right? Right? Let your inner child know that, you know, you're not alone anymore, right? Big thing there. So interesting read today. Interesting read. I would say that was a very interesting kind of direction to go. And I think, you know, showing yourself compassion and allowing yourself to kind of grow in that way, and, you know, the inner child and all of that, you know, it's one of those things that it's kind of like there's a lot of growth that happens, right? The whole Phoenix idea, right? So there you go. That's the read for today. The air conditioning in the office is not working very well. It's not as cool as it should be. So today's topic, the worshipless God. So what are we looking at here, right? So the worshipless God, or the God that refuses worship, not a God that demands temples, not the God that needs candles, not the God that needs trembling hands, bent knees, and desperate little hymns. Okay. The God that refuses worship is the demonic self. Okay. And that phrase is going to piss some people off immediately, right? Which is useful. It's always useful to piss people off, right? I'm never scared to piss somebody off, right? It's never something, I'm never afraid of doing that. You know, irritation is often, you know, the smoke coming off the scared cow after someone finally touched it with a match, right? So when I say demonic self, I don't mean some cartoon monster sitting in your chest whispering edgy nonsense into your ear. And it's funny, like when I talk about this shit, like one of the comments that I got was like, so what was this? Somebody say edgelings always coming up with like the funniest shit. It's like, the weird thing is like the dude that was calling me an edgeling, like one looked like he was just recently ejected from the trailer park, and he's got like tattoos all on his neck and shit. And I'm like, bruh, like pot calling the kettle black, right? Like for fuck's sake. Some crazy shit, you know? And I find it important, like my fashion sense, or the way that I like to dress, isn't edgy, because being edgy means that you're doing something for somebody else. I do this for myself. I don't give a fuck what you think about how I look. Like, that's the first thing, right? That's the first thing I got to put out there. Like, so whoever is watching this, whoever catches this, right, bro, like, I really don't give a shit. Like, I really don't fucking care. Like, if you want to call me an edgelord, if you want whatever, dude, go fuck yourself. Like I said, he's just go fuck yourself, right? You know, because like, ain't nobody need that shit. You know, like, just because you're an insecure piece of shit, you know, like, just leave me the fuck out of it. Anyway, so that's an important aspect of this, though, right? Like, so we're not talking about some like cartoon type fucking monster that lives in your fucking stomach or your chest or your balls or whatever, you know, whispering edgy nonsense into your ear, right? So like, and I don't mean, you know, I'm special because I wear black. I don't mean I'm divine because I bought a crystal and misread 3 Instagram posts. I don't mean I'm my own God as a lazy excuse for undisciplined, fragile, and impossible to correct, right? Like, yeah, no, right? You know, that's not sovereignty. That's spiritual cosplay with a personality disorder garnish, right? So, you know, that's not what we're talking about, right? The demonic self is the part of you that refuses servitude, right? That's what the demonic self is, right? It refuses the old heavenly structure where power is always above you. It refuses the new age blanket where everyone is automatically divine, automatically whole, automatically wise, and apparently automatically allergic to accountability as well, which is like a big fucking thing, right? You know? It's 5 o'clock somewhere close enough. I completely agree. I completely agree. So cheers. I will cheers you with my green paradise, ultra paradise monster with no sugar. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've already had my coffee. So, but it is still Satan and coffee. By the way, I have to update this shit right here, like because it's using the old logo and shit, like up at the top. I got to update that. Anyway, so I am just bopping out to this fucking music. I don't want to play it throughout the whole thing because, like, I don't know if it's copyrighted, so I don't want the whole show to get hit with a fucking copyright. If it's the intro, it's fine. I can cut that out. But God, this shit is so good. So good. It's like, just fucking jamming out in the show. Anyway, right? So it rejects both cages, right? The demonic self rejects both cages, right? One cage says serve the higher power. The other says relax. You're already one with everything. Right? Those are like the two primary cages that we look at, like within the occult. Like that's what we're kind of dealing with, right? Or like just in like spirituality in general. It's like one says the everything that has power is somewhere outside of you, or just like, yeah, dude, just like, like some hippie shit. Just, just vibe, man. You're already connected to fucking everything, right? The demonic self says, nah, man, like, fuck the noise, right? Not because it hates, the sacred or because it refuses to be swallowed by it, right? It refuses to be, the demonic self refuses control. It refuses to be controlled, right? So the central question is simple, right? What if the self becomes divine only when it stops begging divinity to recognize it? So that's kind of like the question that's being posed here, right? What happens to ourselves, right, when we stop begging for divinity to recognize us? And divinity is not just God, right? It's what happens when we stop begging for Lucifer to recognize us, for Lilith to recognize us, for Belial to recognize us. What happens when we stop bending our knees to all of the shit? Because unfortunately, right, we left Christianity, we left the Abrahamic triptych just to bend our knees to other shit. Right? Like, I mean, call on a demon and ask the demon to do the work for you. Lord, God, Father of the dark side. You might as well, honestly, bro, like you might as well just fucking worship Darth Vader and get it over with, right? Like, if you're really talking dark side, like just, worship Darth Vader and just call it a day, right? Just fucking make an altar of Darth Vader because, and then put some cookies on it. That's it, right? So, yeah, anyway. So the first thing we need to burn, essentially, right, is the assumption that worship is the highest form of spiritual life. That's the first thing. That's the first bucket we need to fucking kick here, right? Is that worship is the highest form of spiritual life, right? It may not be the most common. It may not be socially approved. It may be the easiest, to control. Sorry, it might be socially approved and it might be the most common and it might be the easiest to control, but it's the highest? No, it's not. It's not. The demonic self is not born from rebellion alone. It is born when rebellion matures into responsibility, right? So the easiest thing in the world is to rebel badly. I'm going to say that one more time. The easiest thing in the world is to rebel badly. Anyone can reject a god while still needing a god-shaped enemy, right? Anyone can curse the church while still organizing their mind like a church. Anyone can say, I bow to nothing while secretly kneeling to approval, lust, fear, money, resentment, trauma, or the algorithm, right? And that is the part people miss. That it's most people that do this, right? The demonic self is not merely anti-religious, right? It's anti-servile, right? And that matters because servitude can wear a cross. It can wear a pentagram. It can wear a mala. It can wear a business suit, right? Servitude can call itself healing, love, light, obedience, humility, discipline, tradition, or community. The mask changes, the posture doesn't. Hypocrites abound. Yeah, Maeve, what's up? Holy shit. Where the fuck have you been? Yes, defiance and rebellion have a veiled and subtle structure. Very true, very true, very true. Right? So here's the thing, right? So the demonic self refuses the posture, right? The Dominican. That's right. That's right. Was it fun? Did you have fun? Like when you say Dominican, you mean like the Dominican Republic, right? That's what it is, right? In whole. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. So, sun, food, and booze. Fuck yeah, man. Maeve, I think you just got misgendered, bruh. Maeve just got misgendered. Oh, that's great. Anyway, it's all good. Oh, that's great. Anyway, we need pronouns in the bio. No, we don't. No, we don't. We're all good. We're all good. I'm just talking shit. I mean, you did misgender him, but like, you know, I'm poking fun. Neither of us give a fuck. So yeah, so the demonic self refuses the posture, right? So it refuses to build its identity around needing permission from above. It refuses the spiritual welfare system where some cosmic parent is supposed to rescue you from the consequences of your own avoidance, right? But it also refuses the opposite lie, the lie that says everyone is divine by default. Everyone is already whole. Everyone is already a god. Everyone just needs to remember, right? Some people, most people are not gods. At least, I mean, no one is a god in a traditional sense, but like, you know, this whole self-deification integration thing, right? So yeah, so most people aren't gods. Some people are barely honest with themselves before breakfast. Like let's be completely honest. Yeah, most people like are lying to themselves before they barely open their eyes, right? Sounds like you need to manifestation, right? So, and honestly, that includes us. Like, you know, that includes us, right? You know, that this is, you know, not a sermon about how special we are, right? That this is a sermon about how expensive becoming actually is, right? And I know some people are kind of confused, like when I say that, when I say becoming, right? Like it's a foreign concept, right? Becoming, like they're like, well, becoming what? What am I becoming? You're becoming whatever version of your fucking self you want to become. That's what becoming is, right? Because I don't want to put like an indefinite definition on what becoming is because it's subjective, right? Right? It isn't monetary cost. No, it's not. So becoming is, you know, whatever it is that you want to become, whatever version of yourself you want to become, that is becoming. So becoming the best version of yourself for yourself isn't cheap in a spiritual sense, not a monetary sense, right? Like monetarily, like honestly, like it's free, but not. Anyway, right? Some will get it, some don't, right? So servitude is not only religious, right? It includes anything you obey without examination, like anything you just give yourself over to, right? I was like, I have to pay to evolve. Yes, yes. Have you played video games today? Right? Of course you have to pay to evolve. Um, you know, pay to play, pay to win, same thing. So servitude includes anything and everything that we obey without actually fully examining it first, right? Like you hear a news headline and you fall into the news headline without actually looking any of the shit up. That's servitude. Like you're serving the narrative, right? You know, you hear something online, you hear this, you hear that, you do this, you do that, and you fall into it. That's servitude, right? It is. That's servitude. You know, universal divinity, you know, can become spiritual welfare, right? So it gives identity without work, right? So status without transformation and comfort without responsibility. So when we go into the whole universal divinity concept, right? That, you know, the light and love, the white light and love people, right? The modern hippie fucks, right? Like the modern hippie people remind me of like we were watching Dyra and I were watching the Orange is the New Black yesterday, right? And they were doing the backstory to this woman that doesn't speak. She doesn't talk, right? And like there's this dude, like it was like in the 70s or some shit. There's this dude with like long hair and stuff like that. And like, you know, he took like multiple wives and stuff like that. And, you know, put himself into this like God form that he is God and he is divinity and all of this shit, you know, and that's what they make me think of. Like modern, like these modern hippie fucks, like make me like give off that energy like so bad. Like it's insane. It's fucking crazy and disgusting at that, right? That we're all light and love and we're all connected and you know we're connected to everything around us and everyone and you know we're connected to the rocks and the trees and the bees and the birds and you know and it's like fuck god damn man, you know it's just crazy to me, you know, like, you know, how these, you know, people work their shit. Right. And so that's that universal divinity thing, right? You know, it just becomes an identity without actually putting any work in on yourself. Right. Universal divinity guarantees that nobody gets held to the standards they set for others. The universal divinity concept takes, like, in my opinion, it takes away the responsibility of becoming a better version of yourself. Right? Again, I'll repeat it. It gives identity without work, status without transformation, and comfort without responsibility. Right? It's no better than the whole servitude concept. Like you're still serving an end, you know? So, well, it looks like Maeve knows you. So like I won't be normal me. And with the demonic self, it's not anti-sacred, right? It's not it's anti-submission, right? It can honor powers, spirits, gods, ancestors, and forces, other forces without crawling before them. That's the idea of the demonic self. You can still have everything Evie is Evie. She's oh God. But isn't it like Evie? Isn't that like the? I think that's the third name I've seen you with. My goodness. I get confused. That's right. You're a mod. You got a shield. I didn't even notice that. Good to see you. Yeah, Jesus. Sorry about that. ADHD and all that stuff. It took me a second. I changed a lot. It's all good. Transformation's a thing, right? It's good. It's good to have you back. So within the demonic self, you can still have everything that we like to talk about in the occult, right? We like to talk about working with Belial and Lucifer and Lilith and the Goetia. All of that stuff still exists. Like you can use it as archetypes. You can use it as, like as I do and Dyra does, theistically speaking, right? So the reason I use the demonic self instead of like something like the higher self is sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. If that makes any sense, right? Like the higher self, that concept is connected to for me, it's way too connected to like a ridiculous amount of new age, like mumbo jumbo juju stuff. And I wanted something that was disconnected from all of that, that fell further into the idea of individuation, into the idea of self-deification, right? On a higher level, right? On a more involved level. And there came the demonic self. Mark 5, welcome. My 2 cents are that we all serve something. Either we serve something that is not beneficial, such as our passions, habits, or we serve something beneficial, such as family or work. Exactly, infernal self. We burn away what is not needed. Well, so there is that level of serving, and then there's higher levels of it. And I definitely, for example, serve my family, right? Like if I were just to align my own servitude, it would be my family. But I think that there are gradients to it, right? There's blindly serving something, and then there's understanding what you serve and why you serve it. And there's nothing wrong with that aspect of it, right? So, when we talk about every movement in our lives being for the algorithm or being for money or being for, something that doesn't serve us in return, and we don't know that we're serving it, right? It's about having the knowledge and the understanding of what I serve my fellow mankind, no more or less, in the physical plane, charity, relief, and truth. I mean, that works, right? As long as you know what you're serving and why you're serving it, right? So, for example, Nietzsche, right? Friedrich Nietzsche, God is dead, right? The problem is not simple atheism, right? It is the collapse of a value structure that people still unconsciously depend on, right? So Nietzsche understood something most modern atheists and soft spiritual people both miss, right? You can kill God in your mouth and keep him alive in your nervous system, right? You can say you do not believe in divine law, but still search for someone to tell you what you are allowed to become. You can say there is no higher power, then panic the moment your freedom requires a decision, right? That is why the demonic self is not just disbelief. It is the ability to stand in the crater left behind after belief collapses and not immediately build another altar out of your own fear, right? So that is still different from what you were referring to. The spiritual self and building your construct for yourself is within you. So you should serve your morality. You should end up serving yourself, right? So even if you do say, like, externally, like, I serve my family, like, that's for myself because I want to, not because somebody says that I have to. And you should want to. You should want to serve your family, right? You should want to, be everything that your family needs. Right? You should want to be that, right? Like, if you don't, like, if you have a family and you don't want to serve your family, then I think that's a character flaw. It's something to kind of look into. So just some examples, right? I want to be Morty. There's the mascot. There's the mascot. That's the channel mascot. That pink little dinosaur thing. It's creepy as all hell. So, for example, the person who leaves Christianity then turns to astrology into, predestination, right? Or the occultist who rejects priests then treats every influencer like a guru. Or the person that calls himself a rebel who hates authority but cannot make one disciplined decision without validation, right? Or a person that considers themselves sovereign, right, who is actually ruled by every emotional impulse they refuse to master. This shall be the mark of our brotherhood. I think we're saying rejection of subservience and being of service can exist at the same time. It most definitely can. It most definitely can exist at the same time. Like, it has to. It has to. It has to be able to exist at the same time. To sit there and say that, like by no means am I saying that, allowing yourself to be of service willingly and knowingly to something that is beneficial to you and beneficial to those around you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? I mean, all the way down to being a police officer, being in the military. Like, I mean, you sign your life over, right? You are in service of people that you will never, that you may never actually meet, and I believe that to be, a worthwhile cause. You know, building a life of public service. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that as long as you know why you're doing it, right? As long as you are aware of why you're doing it. Exactly. Right? I don't have an opinion on that hulu because I have no idea what it is. I can't even pronounce that. Epicureanism? No idea. No opinion because I have no idea what it is. God. Yeah, So before we can talk about like demonic sovereignty, we need to talk about worship, because worship is where most people confuse devotion with surrender, right? So basically worship is like spiritual outsourcing. So worship is not always love. Sometimes worship is fear dressed in ceremonial clothing. Sometimes worship is dependency. Sometimes worship is a negotiation where the human says, I will praise you, obey you, and diminish myself if you protect me from the terror of being responsible for my life. And yes, people will hate that sentence because it puts a mirror in front of everyone's altar. Right? But if you look at the pattern, right? It's a person feels powerless. A person feels guilty. A person feels ashamed. A person feels lost. Then some system arrives and says, good news. Your problem is that you're not submitting enough. Right? Convenient. It's kind of philosophy of living a private life. I mean, I think that is probably something more people need to start doing. Honestly, like, I mean, everybody wants to put their lives and their shame on display and call it content. And content used to mean something. Making content used to mean something, right? Like creating something, for the consumption of others used to have a meaning, used to have a point, to have a direction, right? For as much as, my teenage self loved Jackass, I think Jackass was the beginning of the downward spiral of content creation, right? Just put yourself out there, act like a complete asshole and a piece of shit, and people will follow you. And I to this day, I still think that, the guys from Jackass had something to what they were doing, but I'll scroll through TikTok and God, it's my name is Johnny Knoxville and welcome to Jackass. Yeah. But it's just, I think that was like the beginning of the end of like intelligent, that in reality TV. Reality TV and Jackass were like the end of intelligent content creation, of like needing to use your frontal lobe, to process and understand, what was happening in front of you. And now the entirety of the internet is that. I have no illusions. Like, I don't think I would love for Satan and Coffee to become something bigger than what it is. I definitely would. Do I ever think it will? No, I don't think it will. I don't think the Satan and Coffee will become, bigger than what it is. And the reason I don't think it'll become bigger than what it is because most of the people that watch Satan and Coffee watch the clips. They don't come here to the channel and watch the whole thing. They can't sit down for an hour or 2 hours and watch, a full show. We've amplified narcissists with mass media. Yeah, we have. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement, And so it's just like most people can't sit down and watch a whole movie anymore. And it's just like, what the fuck happened? Like, I'll like my own self. I've noticed it in myself. I used to love reading. Like I could go through and read a book, right? Your show is like a radio post for real. I appreciate that. You know, it's, you know, I used to love reading. I could read a book and I'm like, I'm not a bunch. Like there are people that read books like every week, but you know, about every month I could get through a book. Now when I sit down, I try to read, like I get anxiety from fucking reading. It's affected me. And if it's affected me at that level, I can only imagine what's happening to people out there now today, like that are younger than myself. Right? Like most people can't sit through a fucking movie. I can't sit through an hour-long science podcast. Some things just need to be shorter. Right? Like, so one of the things I want to start doing is I want to start like reading like little by little at night. So like maybe like 10, 15 minutes and then kind of slowly build it up. But it's just like, I don't know what happened. Like I could sit there and I could read books cover to cover multiple times. And I've noticed I can't do it anymore. But see, that's the problem though. Like Braveheart, right? Braveheart's like 3 hours long. I think I've been able to sit down and watch that movie all the way through a few times in my life. The Matrix is like 2.5 hours long, right? You know, like I'm able to watch like all of the Matrix movies back to back, plus the Animatrix, right? It's the reading thing that really gets to me because like it's hard to do. It's hard to do now because I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm so glad I got an Apple Watch because the thing is like with my watch, right? Like I will sit here and I don't touch my phone, right? I get my notifications on my watch, right? And I don't touch my phone. I can answer it on my phone, stuff like that. I mean, because it's such a small screen, right? Like I just, yeah, you know, like it's been a game changer as far as like how much I actually use my phone, you know, throughout the day. Like I barely check social media now. You know, like I'll upload my stuff and, you know, make the content and whatever, but I think about work constantly. It depends on like, it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It depends on like how you're thinking about work, right? Like if you're worried about work and you're worried about the work that you need to be doing, you know, from a 9 to 5, that's draining. If you're thinking about like your stuff, like what you want to do, your business, your direction, then that's something completely different, right? You know, and that is definitely something that, you know, is I think, you know, beneficial, right? If you're thinking creatively. I mean, there's nothing wrong about growing your business and being addicted to your work to a certain level. But when work begins to take away from family, when it begins to take away from other things that are meaningful in your life, that's where it kind of becomes a problem. And it's again balance, right? It's having that balance there, right? Not becoming a slave, you know, to the process. So, you know, I'm definitely more family oriented. You know, it's for me, it's like I definitely I have moments where I'm like I'm clocked in on work, but then, you know, there's moments where it's like I want to spend time with my family. I want to be with my family. This is why for me it's important to have like an office. Once I'm out of this room, I don't think about work. I don't focus on work. Like this is why I'm glad that I have like an actual office, unlike before where like my work area was like in the dining room, right? Like it was so easy just to get up and walk over to the computer and do some stuff. and everybody's hanging out on the couch and shit, and I'm still felt connected. Being in here is different because like I'm not connected, right? There's essentially almost 2 rooms and a door, you know, between me and the rest of my family. And so like when I'm out of this room, you know, the focus is my family, not work. You know, so I can imagine like, you know, remote work, if you don't have like a dedicated area that is your work area and you're just working off of a laptop wherever it is that you are in your house, it becomes difficult to kind of have that balance. So, yeah, Hootless. I mean, I think a lot of people suffer from that. Work allows more balance to me. Spending an hour or more driving to work a day takes a lot away. It does. It does. That's, you know, it's also another aspect of it, right? Is like, you know, that travel time, you know, like the commute can take away a couple hours that you could have been spending with your family, which is another reason why I love this, because I take these headphones off, I turn off the stream, and I leave, and that's it. Right. So, you know, so now let's kind of continue here, right? So we talked about kind of like, you know, people feeling like powerless, guilty, ashamed, lost, right? So now the wound has a hierarchy, right? So like when you do like, so when you have like, you submit into a system, right? The wound has a hierarchy, right? And the fear is, you know, liturgy, right? And the person does not have to confront the raw fact that they may need to change their behavior, cut ties, develop discipline, stop lying, build skill, or face the thing they keep romanticizing. Right? They just need to submit harder. The demonic self refuses that transaction, right? It does not say there are no gods. It does not say that there are no spirits. It does not say that there are no powers worthy of reverence. It says no power becomes worthy by requiring my self-erasure. That's the important part. No power becomes worthy by requiring my self-erasure. And that is the line, right? So psychological reenactance theory supports the idea that threats or restrictions to freedom can produce resistance aimed at restoring freedom. This is useful outside of the occult because it shows that forced submission often creates resistance, anger, and counter control, not real transformation. Okay? So worship can be reverence. There's nothing wrong with honoring a force, deity, ancestor, teacher, or current. Worship becomes servitude when it requires self-erasure. The moment reverence demands your agency, it is no longer reverence, it's ownership. Right? So coerced devotion creates resentment. People do not become spiritually mature by being crushed. They become compliant, bitter, and secretly split. Right? So like a modern application to this, right? So toxic relationships where one person must always be the evolved one, right? Or spiritual groups where questioning the leader is called ego. Workplaces that use team culture to punish boundaries. Families that call obedience respect. Religious systems that call fear humility, right? So a God that needs you small is not a God. It is an insecure landlord with incense. So call you. Not to offer any worship to it. That's something worth reverence, right? So so the demonic self does not merely reject worship from above, it also rejects the cheap reversal of worship, which is self-deification without self-mastery, right? When I look at something like, for example, Lucifer, right? Lucifer is most useful in this sense because, right? One, a lot of people look at Lucifer as like a cartoon type devil, right? And I've had a lot of conversations with people that like don't understand the identity of Lucifer. But as a symbol of illumination, height, refusal, and like dangerous self-recognition, right? Lucifer has been turned into like a Halloween mask by a lot of people who do not read and theologically like punching, like turn Lucifer into a theological punching bag, right? By people who read badly, right? So it's essentially where like Lucifer's at, right? In society, right? A Halloween mask for those that don't read and a theological punching bag for those that don't understand the shit that they are actually reading. In classical mythology, Lucifer refers to the morning star, right? Venus at dawn and the light before the sun, right? Later Christian tradition folds that figure into the mythology of Satan before the fall. That history matters because it shows us how symbols mutate. They get weaponized, they get simplified, they get dragged into court by people who need an enemy more than they need truth. Right? But for our purposes, for what we're talking about, right, Lucifer gives us a sharp tool. Right? The morning star does not wait for permission from the sun. It arrives before the approved light. It announces before the system is ready. It appears in the strange hour between night and day where the world has not decided what it is yet, right? That is the Luciferian function of the demonic self. Not evil, not chaos for its own sake, not childish rebellion, right? Premature illumination. And yes, I know that there's probably a joke in there somewhere. Feel free to make it, right? So, how to hear an entity like that? I think that's a big thing. A lot of people want to hear a voice the way that you're hearing my voice right now, right? That's what most people really want. They want to hear a voice the way that you're hearing mine right at this moment. And in my workings, I have understood and I've learned that rarely do you ever, if ever, hear an entity's voice the way that you hear my voice at this moment. An entity's voice is more like a feeling than an audible sound. It's a pull, sometimes a push. Sometimes like, why do I want this? Why do I need this? Why do I feel or think this is necessary for me at this moment? That is the voice of the entity. Sometimes it shows up as signs. Sometimes you'll come into Satan and Coffee and you'll hear me start to talk about something. And there's been plenty of people that said, wow, this is really resonating with me. This is something that I've needed to hear. You know, entities work in interesting ways, right? More like an understanding. I will try to put words to it to resonate with the feeling. Exactly. Exactly. So the premature illumination, right? It's the part of you that sees before the rest of you is ready. It's the part of you that tells the truth before your comfort has signed the paperwork. It's the part of you that says this structure is false, while another part of you still benefits from it. And that's why Lucifer frightens people, not because of the horns or the fire or, the church cartoons, but because real light does not flatter. It exposes, right? Britannica's Lucifer entry gives the historical ground. Morning star first, later satanic identification in Christian tradition, right? This matters because when we say Luciferian, we should not be lazy. Luciferian does not mean I like spooky things. It does not mean I hate Christianity. It does not mean I found a demon name that made me and made it my personality, right? Luciferian means the light that does not ask the dominant order if it's allowed to shine. But the light has a cost, because the first thing it burns is your excuse, right? And that's the biggest aspect of like the demonic self, is burning the excuses. Stop using worship as an excuse to not evolve. The worshipless God is self-deification, understanding your own control, understanding your own power. You are the worshipless God. You are a God that does not require worship. You don't require candles. You don't require reverence. You don't require offerings. The only thing you require is self-action, self-authorship, sovereignty, true, unrelenting sovereignty of self. Right? So modern Satanism often rejects literal devil worship. But the demonic self goes further by refusing worship even itself as an excuse. One of the strangest things about modern satanic discourse is that outsiders often think Satanists worship the devil, while major satanic organizations keep saying very plainly, no, right? The Church of Satan says Satanists are atheists and do not worship the devil. They frame Satan as a symbol of pride, liberty, and individualism. The Satanic Temple, for as much as I'm not a fan of that organization, also says it does not worship Satan or believe in Satan or the supernatural at all, right? And I'm not saying that to flatten every satanic, Luciferian, demonic, or theistic path into atheism, because theistic isn't right atheistic, and it would be stupid and boring, right? 2 sins in 1 sentence. But what I am saying is this: the best satanic idea in that framework is not there is no devil. The best idea is that worship is not the point. The Church of Satan uses language like self as the God of its subjective universe. That is useful but dangerous if misunderstood, because weak people hear I am my own God and think it means they are beyond correction. Being the God of your subjective universe does not mean reality obeys you. It means that you are responsible for the meanings, values, choices, and standards you install inside of your life. It's not a crown, it's a workload, right? So Atheistic Satanism gives you the symbolic rebellion. Satan is pride, liberty, individualism. Theistic demonic work gives you the relationship with powers, but relationship cannot become slavery. Right? The demonic self is neither atheist nor theist. By default, it is defined by posture, not doctrine. The real question is not, do you believe in demons? The real question is, are you still trying to be owned? Yes, your ability to grow is directly related to your ability to accept the truth about yourself. I could not have said that better myself. Right? So if your godhood collapses the moment no one validates it, you're not a god, right? You're you're a customer service ticket with candles. Okay? Now, we've kind of hit the second half here, right? So the demonic self rejects servitude to higher powers, yes, but it also rejects the illusion of universal divinity. This is where love and light, you know, the the love and light crowd start quietly reaching for an exit. Okay. So okay. So before we get into this second part of it, right? Let's take a quick break, okay? Because this is going to be a 2-hour show, right? So we're about halfway through now. So I'm going to hit the intro scene, turn the music on, go get some coffee, go get some snacks, whatever the hell it is, tuck her in, and then we'll hit the second part, all right? We'll be right back in about, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll be right back, all right? See you guys in 10.
The two moons rising, swamp water in my shoes. Baby gon' riding, left me singing them Melian blues. I'm drifting under them neon skies. I'm drifting, hear them swamp bees cry. I'm drifting, swamp bees cry. I'm drifting, drifting, till this cosmic pain runs dry. Whoa, whoa, woke up smiling in the park today. Coffee made of rain and clay. Ain't no gold, but the sky's still fine. Got my boo, my tune, my shine. Good mud morning, how you been? Sun peeking through the cattail wind. The frogs keep time, the crickets sing, and I'm rich in every little thing. Got a shack made of old ship steel, plays a tune when the thunder peals. Ain't no troubles I can't dance through. Got 10 toes and nothing to lose. One more smile, that's all I need. A little groove and a seed to feed. When the day gets hot, I splash and grin. Let that happiness soak right in. Good mud morning, don't fade away. Every breath's a brand new day. Ain't no reason, ain't no plan, just swamp life, and I'm a happy man. The store stayed open after the flash. Lights still buzzing, scanners intact. I-5 empty, hour 9 gone, but the doors still say come on. The store stayed open somehow, like routine could save us now. If the world ends politely, does it still count? Price check echoes through the air. Someone laughing sounds detached. End of times, but the red
cost extra.
Just say I tried, now understand. I saw him stand in the rift last night. Same eyes, just heavier light. He said don't ask what went wrong, just fix it before it's gone. He knew my fears before I spoke, knew his dreams were just a joke. Left me there with a warning tone, some past better left unknown. You'll meet yourself coming back someday, wearing all the debts you didn't pay. He ain't here to save your skin, just to show how it ends. Listen, parallel pain, mirrored regret. Same soul, different debt. You don't need a time machine to see, just keep dodging who you're meant to be. Future ain't fate, it's momentum, friend. Change the now or repeat the end. Meet yourself.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, welcome back to myself, I suppose. So, Samuel, what do you mean it's for real a radio? Like, what do you mean? Is that like is this like a radio show? Like, is it like I'm just wondering, like, what? Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I enjoy like the pauses with the music. Oh yeah, yeah. Some of my earlier episodes are on YouTube Music. Really? That's great. That's fucking hilarious. That is funny. Well, yeah, I mean, if I want to do a 2-hour show, though, like, I mean, like, you need to take a break, right? Like, I mean, you guys can, take me to the bathroom with you if you got to go to the bathroom or something. I can't exactly do that. Like, that would just be weird. Like, oh, here, guys, let's switch over to the phone. I need to go use the restroom. Like, no, thank you. Right. So yeah, taking a break about an hour in is always kind of worth it. But we are kind of gonna start we getting into kind of like the whole love and light crowd, right? Part of this. Right. So basically getting into this, right? So what we're going to expand on with this is, right, what do you still worship, right? So You know, what do you still worship without, you know, admitting it, or without approval, or, you know, being seen as wise or desired, or, you know, the wounded one, the villain, misunderstood, you know, being right, right? You know, I worship Oreos. Yes, we actually, so we made some AI art. I call it, we made an AI image. We didn't make art. We made an image because Dyer had mentioned that in we do this, if you guys aren't aware, we do a weekly meeting called Hearth Circle. It's open to the public. It's completely free, and it's on the Discord server. And we do it, you know, to, you know, just people that need to talk. You know, need to talk about something. You can just talk about whatever, you know, works. And she said that, like, she worshipped Oreos, and then we came up with this. Praise be to the cookie. Like, this is fucking, it was just great. Oh, that was amazing. So yeah, that was funny. But yeah, like, it's kind of looking at, like, you know what I mean? Like, what do we still worship, you know, without realizing that we worship it, right? Like, what do we feel nervous about losing in our lives, right? So it's like, don't ask who your God is. Ask what you sacrifice your standards to. Double stack communion. Yeah. You know, so it's like that's the question, right? It's not what or who your God is. It's what are you sacrificing your standards to? Like, what standards do you have that you are allowing to slip because of a person or a thing that you're trying to appease? Even if it's something inside of yourself, what are you appeasing inside of yourself? What standards are you sacrificing that you want to have for self-appeasement, right? Landlords. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that outside of buying property, and then it's the government, right? Because property taxes. So, you know, now, because the topic that we're talking about, like, gets heavy quick, right? Some people will hear what I'm saying wrong on purpose. I'm not saying never bow your head. I'm not saying never pray. I'm not saying never make offerings. I'm not saying never revere a god, demon, ancestor, current, teacher, or force. I'm not saying don't ever do anything like that, right? I'm saying know what you are doing. There is a difference between reverence and self-abandonment. There is a difference between devotion and dependency. There is a difference between kneeling because the rite calls for it and kneeling because you do not know who you are without someone above you. The difference is everything. And on the other side, I'm not saying humans are worthless. I'm saying divinity without discipline is just flattery. Everyone is divine sounds nice until you look at how people actually live, right? Everyone has potential. Yes. Everyone has depth. Sure. Everyone is has a mystery. Yeah. Right. Everyone is automatically divine in a meaningful way. Fuck no. Right. And that, sorry, my watch just started vibrating violently. It was kind of weird. Right. And that is where I get off the bus, right? Like, so where everyone is automatically divine in a meaningful way, right? That's where, yeah, I like, pull the fuck over, let me off the ride, all right? And yes, the bus is probably playing handpan music, okay? Universal divinity as spiritual collectivism is the problem. right? Universal divinity can sound liberating, but it often dissolves the self into a soft collective fantasy where nobody has to earn anything. The New Age movement gave modern culture a lot of language about transformation, healing, light, energy, awakening, and personal spiritual growth. Britannica describes it as emerging through occult and metaphysical communities in the 1970s and 1980s, looking toward a new age of love, light, heightened consciousness, and transformation. The language is not all useless, right? I mean, some of it helped people leave dead institutions. Some of it opened doors. Some of it gave people permission to look inward. But it also created a swamp where everything is divine, everything is valid, everything is sacred, everything is healing, everything is trauma, everything is download, everything is a sign. That's the swamp, where everything is everything all the time. And once everything is divine, the word divine starts meaning almost shit. Get out of my swamp. Yep. So theosophy gives us a more serious version of the same tension, right? Britannica notes that theosophy often includes monism, impersonal divinity, emanation, and the idea of humans as sparks of the divine trapped in the material world, seeking return to a spiritual home. That is a coherent metaphysical system. But the demonic self does not seek return. It seeks becoming. It does not want to dissolve into the source. It does not want to be absorbed back into cosmic sameness. It does not want to wake up and realize it was never separate. It wants separation to mean something. It wants the wound of individuality to become a blade. Crowley contrasts this, right? So with the Book of Law, right? Every man and every woman is a star. That line is powerful because it does not have to mean mushy sameness. A star is not a drop returning to the ocean. A star has orbit, gravity, heat, position, force, catastrophe, distance, right? The star does not become meaningful by being identical to every other star. It becomes meaningful by burning according to its own law, right? So the problem is not Crowley's line. The problem is what spirituality or spiritually lazy people do with it, right? That's the problem. So they hear every man and every woman is a star and translate into everyone is automatically sacred, so no one gets judged. No, stars collapse too, people, right? So universal divinity can erase the hierarchy of effort. Right. So if everyone is equally divine in the same way, transformation becomes decorative, and collective soul language can erase conflict. So it says separation is illusion, but separation is where responsibility lives. The demonic self refuses absorption. It's not trying to return to the womb of God, right? Becoming requires distinction. No distinction, no will, no path, no initiation. Right? So we are all one is used to avoid accountability. That is your truth used to avoid correction. No judgment is used to protect destructive behavior. Everything happens for a reason used to spiritualize cowardice, right? You are already whole, used to avoid rebuilding. That's what all of these things are used for. And I know that all of you have either heard or, been a part of like a group that uses phrases like this, right? And the one that personally pisses me off all the time is that is your truth, right? If you have your truth, then you can't be corrected. Truth is beyond reproach, right? You can't correct truth. So your truth is beyond correction because it is your truth. But truth is absolute. So, yet that doesn't work, right? It's either the truth or it's not. There is no your truth. Your truth doesn't exist. There is the truth or there is nothing. Sorry, but it just kind of is what it is. Now, your opinion, your experience, that's valid, right? That's a valid aspect of things. Your experience, your opinion through your experience, your understanding through your experience, all of those things are valid. But to call it truth is to say that it's objective, not subjective. And what you understand life to be is subjective, not objectively true. Right? So, and this is kind of where psychology actually backs the occult point here, right? Like human beings do not thrive by being swallowed. They need autonomy, right? So the refusal to kneel is not just occult theater. Autonomy is a core human need. And threats to freedom produce resistance, right? So self-determination theory identifies autonomy, competence, and relatedness as basic psychological needs, right? So the official SDT source describes autonomy as violation and willingness, right? So competence as effectiveness and mastery, and relatedness as connection and care. It also states that need, satisfaction supports motivation, resilience, and well-being. And that matters because the demonic self is not simply saying, I hate authority. It's saying my growth requires authorship. That word matters, authorship. Not comfort, not chaos, not rebellion for applause, authorship. The ability to say, this is my life, these are my choices, these are my consequences, these are my standards, these are my failures, this is my law. Reactance theory adds the sharper edge, right? When people experience restrictions, they can enter a motivational state aimed at restoring freedom. So when a religious system, spiritual teacher, parent, family, institution, or ideology tries to own the self, resistance is not always immaturity. Sometimes resistance is the soul's immune system. And yes, I said what I said, right? Resistance is the soul's immune system. Autonomy is not isolation. You can have bonds without ownership. Competence prevents fake sovereignty. So without skill, freedom becomes wandering. Relatedness prevents sterile egoism. The demonic self is sovereign, not emotionally dead. Reactance explains why force fails. Control may produce compliance, but it rarely produces initiation. Right? So, a client cannot transform if they are only obeying me, right? Like if I'm working with a client, they can't transform or become like grow to another level if they're only listening to what I'm telling them to do. Right? It doesn't work that way. That's not how it functions. Right? A student cannot learn if they're only trying to please a teacher. A parent cannot love if they're being managed. A devotee cannot mature if the deity becomes an excuse to avoid self-rule, right? So submission can make you obedient. It cannot make you sovereign, right? Now we bring in kind of like the philosopher, who may be one of the most dangerous tools for what we're talking about, right? And we're talking about Max Stirner or Steiner. I can never pronounce his name, right? So Steiner, Nietzsche, and, you know, the sacred lies that still own us, right? The demonic self rejects sacred abstractions that rule the individual while pretending to liberate them, right? So Stirner is useful here because he does not only attack religion, he attacks the ghost of religion hiding inside secular ideas, right? The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy describes Stirner as challenging the modern world as still dominated by religious modes of thought and oppressive institutions, while pointing toward an egotistic alternative where individual autonomy can flourish. Because most people do not escape religion, they name it, right? So they stop worshiping God and start worshiping humanity. They stop obeying scripture and start obeying ideology. They stop fearing hell and start fearing cancellation. They stop confessing sins and start posting trauma as identity proof. It's the same shit. It's just like it's the same structure. You're doing the same things, right? Same altar, different furniture. False compassion is the last string the devil has you hanging by. Yeah. 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 Like, yeah, 100%, right? And, you know, Stirner is useful because he asks, what sacred idea still owns you? Not what God, not what church, not what demon, what idea? Justice, love, family, community, purity, healing, success, authenticity, tradition, your brand, your wound, right? Any of these can become holy enough to enslave you, right? And Nietzsche stands nearby, right? Not because he simply says God is dead. That is the bumper sticker version for people who like black shirts and shallow quotes, right? The real point is that once God dies, the structure of meaning does not magically solve itself. People keep needing values, they keep needing direction, they keep needing standards. Nietzsche's problem is the problem after the altar falls. The demonic self lives there after the altar. So Stirner exposes sacred abstractions, right? So the self can become ruled by humanity, morality, or the greater good just as easy as by God. Nietzsche exposes the cost of God's death. Freedom without value creation becomes nihilism. The demonic self must create law, not universal law, personal law, tested law, lived law, right? No sacred cow gets immunity. If it owns you, question it, right? So a sacred idea does not need a church. It only needs your fear, right? There is one more trap. People hear collective and think Jung proves we are all one soul. No, That is bad psychology and worse occultism. So, Jung and the collective unconscious, and why archetypes are not a hive mind main point. The collective unconscious does not prove universal divinity. It describes shared psychic structures, not a single shared soul that erases individuality, right? Jung's collective unconscious gets abused constantly. People use it like a mythical junk drawer. They toss it in archetypes, past lives, astrology, gods, trauma, dreams, and whatever else helps them avoid making a clear distinction. Britannica defines the collective unconscious as a form of unconscious common to humanity, distinct from the personal unconscious, containing archetypes or universal primordial images and ideas. That is not the same thing as saying everyone is one soul. That is not the same thing as saying individuality is fake. That is not the same thing as saying your work is already done because you share symbols with the species. The collective unconscious gives us shared symbolic material, but individuation is not dissolving into the collective. It is describing distinct enough to relate to those forces without being possessed by them. That is the demonic point. The archetype is not your master. The demon is not your excuse. The god is not your replacement. The collective is not your home. Your task is to vanish into the symbol, right? Or is not, your task is not to vanish into the symbol. Your task is to survive contact with it and return with a self strong enough to use what it saw. Archetypes are shared patterns. They're not proof that your personal responsibility is illusion. You know, possession happens when the ego cannot hold the force, right? This applies psychologically and ritually. How would you compare and contrast to how the LL crowd describe the absolute self versus the differentiated self? First and foremost, definitionally, I figured, love and light. There is no absolute self, right? The self is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. Like our ideas, our brains are constantly being molded by everything around. There's no absolute self. There is no differentiated self. There's only self and who you are in the moment. Like, I think that trying to create two different versions of self it's another way to create an excuse for certain things. L&L's clothing brand. I mean, it could work. I'm sure somebody would take that as a clothing brand, right? The Love and Light, right? The Love and Light apparel, L&L apparel, right? The contradictory answer to Killstar, right? Because Killstar is like the left-hand path shit, right? Essentially. So there you go. Somebody wants to start a clothing brand. There you go. No black t-shirts. Exactly. No black t-shirts. White, pink, purple. Right? That's it. So, I don't know if that answers your question well enough, but I mean, that's how I kind of look at it. Right? So the demonic self works with the collective without being absorbed by it, right? So individuation is separation with integration. Not sameness, not collapse, not we are all one, right? So the whole episode so far has been circling one hard idea, right? The self becomes sacred only when it stops trying to be owned. That's like what this whole episode's circling. So essentially, what's to be questioned? What higher power are you still secretly begging to save you? What collective identity are you hiding inside? What spiritual language do you use to avoid plain accountability? What part of your path is actually fear wearing occult jewelry? And what would change this week if you stopped worshiping anything that needs you weak? Right? Don't answer them like you're a poet, right? Answer them like a person who has to live tomorrow, right? The left-hand path is not improved by prettier language. It's improved by cleaner action. So, the God that refuses worship is not asking you to worship yourself. That would be too easy. It asks you to become something that you no longer need worship as proof. That's harder because worship is addictive. Being worshipped is addictive. Worshiping others is addictive. Believing everyone is divine is addictive. Believing no one is divine is addictive. Believing you are chosen is addictive. Believing you are cursed is addictive. All of it can become a way to dodge the same responsibility. What are you making of yourself? The demonic self rejects servitude to higher powers because no god, demon, angel, institution, scripture, teacher, lover, parent, audience, or ideology gets to own the core of the self. But it also rejects universal divinity because divinity without ordeal is just decoration. You are not divine because you contain potential. Potential is cheap. You become divine or godlike or demonic or sovereign or whatever word you want to use when you take the raw material of your life and force it through discipline, desire, shadow, consequence, and choice until it becomes something with law. Not universal law, your law. And your law had better cost you something, because if it costs nothing, it is probably another slogan. The demonic self does not kneel to heaven. It does not dissolve into humanity. It stands alone not because it hates the world, but because it refuses to be eaten by it. So, the God that refuses worship is not above you. It is the part of you that refuses to be beneath anything unworthy. So, that's it. What do you obey when no one is watching, right? What you call sacred because you're afraid to challenge it. What you call destiny because you're too tired to choose. What you call healing because it lets you remain unchanged, right? One habit, one boundary, one decision, 1 hour, one truth, one piece of your will. You do not return unchanged when you actually ask the right questions about self, about where you are in your life and where you're going. That being said, just to kind of put this out there again, Dyra is creating an oracle deck called Bones and Hope. It is a nonprofit deck, so all the proceeds to it go to charities here in Mexico for the families of missing persons, and there's a lot of them. She is doing 3-question readings all day to those that donate £5 to the GoFundMe. So go to her Instagram, go to her post on it, click the GoFundMe link, donate £5. Let her know what your name is over in GoFundMe and that you donated £5 and you get 3 questions. Go for it. It's worth it. Infernal Compass, the self-help guide, the 345-page self-help guide, end of this month. You can get it on Amazon. Just working on the cover. The book itself is done, but hope you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, that'll be it for today. We're done. We're out. It's been one hell of a show. Thank you all for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. And as always, hail thy fucking self. See you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.